I never thought I'd find myself in a situation like this, and honestly, I still can't believe it's real. My name's David, and for years I thought I had it good, married to Emily, a woman I loved and trusted implicitly. We'd been together for over 10 years, and honestly, I thought we had a solid foundation. She was always a little bitchy, quick to snap and often dismissive, but I shrugged it off as just her personality. Still, I never suspected it would come to this. We had a decent life, decent jobs, a nice house, and a kid, Noah, who was about 8. Things got a little rocky when Emily started working more late hours at her boutique, which I initially thought was just her being ambitious. But then little things started changing. She became more irritable, snapping at me over small things, and she started hiding her phone more than usual. I didn't want to be that guy who snoops, but I knew her patterns. She was hiding something. Then, about 2 months ago, I noticed her acting weird during Noah's orthodontist visits. Emily's always been a little vain and obsessed with appearances, but she suddenly seemed more obsessed than usual. She'd come home from those meetings with this strange glow, like she'd just had sex with someone. I thought maybe she was just excited about Noah's progress, or maybe she was just overly tired, but something about it felt off. She'd brush me off when I'd ask, call me paranoid, and tell me I was imagining things. Classic Emily, always lying, always denying. One day, I decided to surprise her and follow her to the orthodontist. I wasn't proud of it, I get it sounds stalkerish, but I was desperate for answers. I wanted to see her face when she was with her doctor, Dr. Carter, the guy who's been working on Noah's teeth. When I parked outside that small clinic, I saw her walk in with him. That wasn't strange in itself. Lots of parents are supportive during these times. But then I noticed her hand linger on his arm a little longer than it should, and her subtle smiles. I've never seen her smile like that with me. It was like she was genuinely happy, and I guess that was the first punch to the gut. I waited for her to come out, and when she did, I confronted her right there in the parking lot. I asked her what the hell was going on, why she looked so happy around him, and she just rolled her eyes and said I was overreacting, that I was crazy. She called me paranoid, said I was imagining things, that I was insecure, but I was. I saw her kiss him once, just a quick peck on the cheek, and I knew that was no appointment or casual chat. It was something more. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying her face, her lies, the way she dismissed me. The betrayal cut deeper than I expected. I mean, I knew she wasn't perfect, but I never thought she'd cheat on me, let alone with her son's orthodontist. It's not just about cheating. It's the fact that she lied, gaslit me into thinking I was crazy, and then, I guess, she thought she could get away with it. I was furious, devastated, and honestly, I felt sick. I started digging through her stuff, trying to find more proof. I found a series of texts on her phone, photos of her and Dr. Carter sharing private moments. They'd been meeting for months, probably more than I knew. I also found her planning to meet him again during Noah's next appointment. That was the moment I decided I had to do something. I had to think about what I was going to do, confront her again, or cut everything off. But I knew one thing: I wasn't going to let her get away with this. Not after all we'd built. Not after all I thought we had. I felt like I was living in some terrible nightmare, and I kept asking myself how I didn't see it coming. How I missed the signs, how I was so blind to her lies. How could the woman I loved, the woman I trusted with everything, be sleeping with someone else, someone who was supposed to be helping Noah with his teeth, not betraying our entire marriage? I kept telling myself I'd find the right way to handle it, but inside, I knew I was already planning my revenge. I just didn't know what that would look like yet. After I found those messages and saw the pictures, everything changed. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. My stomach was in knots, and every time I closed my eyes, I saw her with him, smiling, touching, whispering secrets I would never hear. The betrayal hit me harder than I ever thought it could. She always had that sharp tongue, that bitchy attitude, but I never imagined she'd go behind my back with someone so close to us, someone I'd trusted to fix our son's teeth. I stayed up the entire night, replaying everything. I was angry at first. How could she do this? How could she lie so effortlessly? I felt like I'd been punched in the gut, then kicked repeatedly. I kept thinking about the time she snapped at me during dinner, how distant she'd been when I asked about her day. It all made sense now. She wasn't just tired or stressed. She was hiding this affair, and I had proof. I knew I had to face her, but I wasn't sure how to even start that conversation. The next morning, I decided I couldn't hold this inside anymore. I called her at work, told her I needed to see her after her shift. When she got home, she was all defensive, throwing her usual tantrums. She denied everything, called me paranoid, accused me of spying on her. She called me insecure but refused to look me in the eye. I could see the guilt behind her arrogant smirk. That's when I knew she was lying, that she was hiding even more. I just kept quiet, waiting for her to slip up, which she did within minutes. I confronted her directly, showed her the photos, the texts, the evidence I had gathered. Her reaction was classic. She said I was nuts, that I was imagining things, that I was just jealous because she was prettier and more successful. She told me I was overreacting, that Dr. Carter was just a family friend, that they had no affair, just business meetings and discussions about Noah's dental health. She dismissed my feelings like they were nothing, but I knew better. I saw the way her eyes darted, the way her voice cracked. She was lying her ass off. I felt a strange mix of rage and sadness. Rage because she had betrayed me so badly, and sadness because I'd always thought we had something real. I started second-guessing everything. How many times had she lied to my face? How long had this been going on? And suddenly I realized that all the signs I'd ignored, her late nights, her secretive behavior, the way she'd avoid talking about her meetings, made sense now. She had been cheating on me with someone I trusted to help our son, and I was just blind to it. I wanted to believe it was all some big mistake, some misunderstanding, but the evidence was overwhelming. I couldn't ignore it anymore. I told her I needed some space, that I needed to think everything through. She shrugged, full of that bitchy attitude again, and said I was overreacting, that she'd never do anything to hurt our family. But I knew better. I knew she was lying. I could see it in her eyes, the way she looked at him, the way she tried to act innocent. It was disgusting. That moment, I realized that my life was about to change forever. I either let her keep lying and continue to get hurt, or I finally faced reality and made a decision. I wasn't sure what I was going to do yet, but I knew I couldn't stay silent. Not anymore. Over the next few days, I couldn't focus on anything else. My mind kept circling around her, that bastard doctor, and what I was going to do about it all. I knew I needed to gather more proof, just to be certain. I didn't want to accuse her blindly, but I also didn't want to leave anything to chance. So I installed a hidden camera in the living room, just a small one I bought online, pointed right at her usual spots. I figured, if she was hiding something, this might catch her in the act, or at least give me enough evidence to confront her properly. That night I sat there, watching the feed on my phone, feeling like a damn spy in my own house. The camera didn't lie. Within minutes, she started acting strange, texting on her phone, sneaking off to the bedroom. I saw her lock the door, which was never her thing. Then, around midnight, she left the house. I watched her quietly slip out, her face tight with guilt, and when she came back 3 hours later, she was exhausted, disheveled, and trying to hide the fact she'd been somewhere. She didn't realize I'd seen everything. The next morning, I confronted her again. This time, I was cold, calm, and collected. I played the footage for her on my laptop, showed her clearly what I saw. Her reaction was priceless. Her eyes widened and her entire face went pale. She stuttered, then threw out some lame excuse. "It's nothing, I just went to see my sister," she said. Yeah, right. After all the lies, I didn't believe her for a second. I told her I knew the truth. She'd been screwing around with Dr. Carter for months, and I wasn't going to let her deny it anymore. She started crying, but not in a remorseful way, more like she was annoyed, pissed off that I was catching her. "You're overreacting," she snapped. "You're just jealous like always. I don't know what you want from me." That was her typical move: deny, dismiss, blame me, but I wasn't buying it. I'd seen enough. I knew she was cheating, and I was furious. How could she betray me, our family, our son, and then have the nerve to act like I was the problem? The emotional toll hit me hard. I'd always thought I was the one holding everything together, and now I felt like I'd been punched in the chest. My stomach churned with anger, but also sadness. I loved her, or at least I thought I did, but now I wasn't sure what love even meant anymore. All I could see was her selfishness, her lies, her manipulation. I kept asking myself how I didn't see it sooner, how I'd been so blind to her true nature. I realized I couldn't fix this, not with her lying and sneering at me the way she was. I decided I had to make a choice. I told her I wasn't going to tolerate her lying anymore. I told her I needed time to think, to decide whether I could even stay in this marriage or if I should just walk away. And honestly, part of me wanted to leave right then and there. But I knew I had to be smart about it, gather more evidence, plan my next move. I couldn't just walk out after all this without knowing exactly what I was dealing with. I felt numb, betrayed, and completely lost. How could the woman I married, the one I trusted, do something so cruel? I didn't have the answer yet, but I knew one thing. I was done being the fool in this game. This was only the beginning, and I was ready to fight back. The more I thought about everything, the more I realized I needed to get some concrete proof, not just my suspicions and the videos I had. I started laying out a plan, carefully, methodically. I knew Emily. She was a bitchy, manipulative woman who hated being caught off guard. I had to be smart. I decided to install more cameras, ones that could record her meetings or interactions when I wasn't around. I also started digging into Dr. Carter's background, just to see if there was anything else I could find, any sign that this affair was more than just a few sneaky meetups. My gut told me she was hiding more than just a secret affair. I had a feeling this wasn't just about the sex, but about her ego, her need for validation. That night, I put the second camera in the bedroom, hidden behind a picture frame, so I could catch her if she slipped up again. I even rigged my phone to record her calls when she was in the house, just in case she tried to destroy evidence or lie her way out of it. I was completely consumed with catching her in the act, and I stayed up most nights staring at the live feeds and reviewing the footage. Then, about a week after everything started, I got my first real shot at catching her. It was late afternoon when I saw her leave the house again, this time with her purse looking suspiciously heavy. I followed her from a safe distance, keeping my cool, and watched her slip into a small apartment complex just a few blocks away. When I peeked inside, I saw her in a bedroom with Dr. Carter, her hand on his chest, whispering, laughing. They looked like they'd been doing this for a long time. I couldn't believe it. My suspicions had been right. She was cheating on me, and she'd been doing it right under my nose. That moment hit me like a punch. I felt sick, but also relieved I finally had proof. The evidence was crystal clear now. I was furious beyond words. I wanted to storm in there, confront her, tear her apart right then and there. But I knew I had to stay calm. I couldn't blow everything in a fit of rage. Instead, I snapped a few quick photos on my phone, then backed out quietly and headed home. I had what I needed now. The proof of her infidelity, the lies, the betrayal, everything. When I got home, I didn't say a word. I just sat there staring at the photos, feeling my chest tighten with anger and heartbreak. I didn't want to cry, but I felt the tears sting my eyes. How the hell did I get here? How did I let her lie and cheat behind my back? I thought about our son, Noah, and how this would crush him if he ever found out. I thought about everything we'd built and how she'd thrown it all away for some quick, meaningless sex with a guy who was supposed to be helping Noah. That night, I finally confronted her again, this time face to face with the undeniable proof. I showed her the photos, the recordings, everything I'd uncovered. Her reaction was pure contempt, her eyes narrowing, that sneering smirk on her face. She told me I was crazy, that I was making everything up, that I had no right to judge her. She called me paranoid, insecure, jealous, but I knew better. I knew she was lying from the start. That moment I felt my whole world shatter a little more. I realized I was done trying to save a relationship that was already dead. The betrayal was too deep, the lies too ingrained. I sat there looking at her, trying to process what I had just seen and heard. I felt like I was outside my own body, watching everything unfold. My mind raced between anger, sadness, and a deep sense of betrayal. I knew I had to make a decision, whether to fight for this marriage or walk away for good. I wasn't sure what I'd do yet, but one thing was clear. I couldn't trust her anymore. Not a single bit. And the worst part, I knew I'd never see her the same way again. The next day, I couldn't bring myself to do anything but sit in silence. My mind kept circling the images, the videos, her sneaky behavior. I felt like I'd been hit by a truck. For years, I thought we had a decent, honest life, and now I found out she'd been sneaking around with the orthodontist, the guy who was supposed to be helping Noah's teeth, not betraying his father in the worst way possible. I was crushed, but I also felt a weird sense of clarity. I knew I had to act, but I wanted to do it right. Not out of anger necessarily, but out of a need to get justice, or at least some closure. I started researching what my options were, what the legal route looked like if I decided to divorce. I wasn't planning to just pack up and leave, not yet. I needed to figure out how to expose her properly, get everything documented, and plan my next move. I knew she'd try to spin it, lie her way out of it, but I had enough evidence to back up my claims. I also decided I needed to tell my best friend, Mark, what was going on. I couldn't carry this alone anymore. I needed someone who could give me a rational perspective, someone I could trust who wouldn't just tell me what I wanted to hear. Mark was sympathetic, of course, but he was also blunt. Dude, she's been lying to you for months. You've got the proof now, and it's clear she doesn't give a damn about your marriage or your family. That's what I needed to hear. I'd been having doubts about whether I was overreacting, but now I knew for sure. I had to do something drastic. I told him I was considering divorce, but I also wanted to see if there was any way to salvage some form of integrity from all this mess. Deep down, though, I knew it was over. I started creating a detailed timeline, putting together all the evidence I had, texts, photos, videos. I wanted everything in order, so when I finally confronted her again, I had every fact straight. I think I wanted to see her squirm, to see her try to deny it again, but I was prepared this time. I also contacted a lawyer, not to jump into anything immediately, but to get some advice on how to proceed. I wasn't about to be naive. This was serious, and I had to be smart about it. Meanwhile, Emily started acting even more bitchy, more dismissive. She knew I was onto her, and instead of coming clean, she doubled down on her lies. She called me paranoid, insecure, accused me of spying on her and trying to ruin her life. She threw tantrums, yelled at me, tried to make me feel guilty. But I didn't care any more about her bullshit. Every time she dismissed my concerns, I felt more convinced that I was making the right choice. I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay, not after what I'd seen. One evening, I caught her in the act of texting him again, this time more blatantly. She sent a message saying she couldn't wait to see him that night. That was it for me. I sat her down, showed her all the evidence again, and told her I was done. I told her I knew about her and Dr. Carter, that I had enough proof to take this to the authorities if I wanted. Her face twisted in anger, but she couldn't deny it anymore. Her bitchy attitude finally cracked. She snarled, called me crazy, said I was ruining everything. But deep down, I knew she was scared. She knew I had her cornered. That was the moment I decided I would tell her it was over. No more lies, no more pretending. I told her it was ending and I would be filing for divorce soon. I felt a mixture of relief and heartbreak. Relief that I finally knew the truth, and heartbreak because I'd lost the woman I thought I loved, but I also felt a strange sense of empowerment. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about reclaiming my life, protecting my son from a woman who had no respect for her family or our marriage. The road ahead wasn't going to be easy, but I knew I had to walk it. For me, for Noah, and maybe somehow for my own sanity. The days that followed were a blur of legal appointments, whispered conversations with my lawyer, and preparing for the inevitable breakup. I had all the evidence I needed, and I was ready to face whatever came next. Emily didn't go quietly. She threw her usual tantrums, called me every name under the sun, and tried to spin her lies even as I laid out the cold, hard truth in court documents. She was furious, but I didn't care. I knew I was finally taking back control of my life. The divorce process was messy, of course. Emily fought every step of the way, trying to manipulate the situation, but I stayed firm. I wanted her to understand that her betrayal wasn't just a mistake. It was a choice, a complete disregard for everything we built together. I didn't want her to walk away clean, innocent in her own mind. I wanted her to face the consequences of what she did. Throughout it all, I kept my focus on Noah. It was heartbreaking to see how much this was hurting him. He loved his mom, but even he could sense something was off. I made sure to shield him from the worst of it, but I also knew I had to be honest with him as he got older. I didn't want him growing up thinking his mother's actions were okay. I wanted him to learn what integrity and respect truly meant, something she seemed completely incapable of teaching. In the end, Emily lost the house. Her access to Noah was limited, and she had to face the fallout of her own choices. Watching her try to spin her lies in court was almost laughable. Her bitchy attitude couldn't save her from the undeniable evidence I presented. She looked pathetic, angry, and bitter. And honestly, I felt nothing but a strange sense of closure. I had done what I needed to do. After everything settled, I took some time to myself. I realized how much I'd been holding. Inside, anger, hurt, betrayal, and I finally let it go. I learned that sometimes you have to hit rock bottom to realize your own worth. Emily's betrayal taught me a harsh lesson. Never ignore the signs, never compromise your values, and never let someone treat you like dirt. I might have lost her, but I gained clarity. I gained respect for myself. Now I'm rebuilding. I'm focusing on Noah and giving him the stability he needs. I've started therapy to work through the pain, and I'm slowly learning to trust again, though I know I'll never forget. If there's one thing this mess has taught me, it's that honesty is everything. Betrayal cuts deep, but it also forces you to realize your strength. I'll never forget what happened, but I refuse to let it define me. Looking back, I wish I'd seen the signs sooner, but I also know I did the right thing. Sometimes the truth is ugly, and it hurts like hell. But facing it head-on is the only way to move forward. I hope my story helps someone out there. Trust your instincts, stay true to yourself, and never let anyone cheat you out of your dignity. Because if I've learned anything, it's that revenge isn't about hurting someone else. It's about reclaiming your life, your happiness, and your self-respect.